Hey, what's up, everybody? The V Club here. I might shorten it to VC. The VC, right? I might just do that. Maybe just simplify it even more. But anyhow, welcome to the VC V Club. We'll see. The Villain Club is what it really stands for. Anyways, but it's about anything and everything, and nothing's off the table. So I'm gonna call this episode Cybertrucks, Censorship, and DEI Dummies. How about that? Yeah. So that's what I'm going to call this episode. Um, Cybertrucks, Censorship, and DEI Dummies. Yeah, I think that's a good one there. And so I'm going to cover all that. That's why. So that's what I'm going to cover is those areas because it kind of is worth talking about. All right. So the Cybertruck and the whole censorship, it kind of ties together into what I wanted to talk about. So this particular episode I did the other day called Cybertruck Explosion in Vegas Self-Inflicted Act of Terror, whatever. They put a label on it as age restricted, right? And I tried to edit it, right? So it asked me to trim off a certain amount of time, and I trimmed off a certain amount of time to try to make it so it's not age restricted. And then I aired it, and yet it got hit with age restricted again. And it's like, you asked me to trim this off, and I trimmed it off. And then next thing you know, it says that I got age restricted again. So anyhow, basically, it's not even a big deal. It's just about talking about the Cybertruck explosion in Vegas, right? I could play a little bit coming at you with another video. Little aspects of it here. I mean, you can see here, right? It just shows you the explosion and what happened in front of the Trump lobby of the Trump Hotel in Vegas. Right? It was contained, right, within the Cybertruck. Nobody died except for the driver himself. You can see the explosion there, right? And then
the great audience.
you can see the pattern of activity. Where was this guy going? So there's surveillance of that. He's going around, pretty much around the strip, and then he went back and parked as if he was conflicted, has second thoughts, whatever. Right? So it did that. And then.
Good morning, Adriana.
And I'm comfortable calling it a suicide with the bombing that occurred immediately thereafter.
So, former military, former Green Beret. I think he was on active military on leave or something like that. It says took his life causing the blast. So I alluded to, and plus some of the news reports. All right, I'm gonna put it on mute so I could play it as it's playing out. It shows a pattern of him driving, and he actually just came back and rolled up in front, and that's when it exploded. They said he had a gunshot wound to the head shortly before it exploded, right? And then they had the materials. All right, so I skipped past that because they asked me to trim off the materials. All right, so I trimmed off the materials, and so I don't know. This is stupid, right? So they uncovered it. All right, so boom. All right, see, this is all censored now. I mean, no volume. This is some bullshit, right? So because of censorship, you can't even play nothing freely. Yet all these other news medias play things freely, and yet it gets hit with age restrictive stuff. And all I did was simply just play other news reports. It's not like I came up with it, whatever. It's just other stuff, all right? And then they hit me with the age restriction. So it's like, what kind of shit is that? That's censorship at its finest here on YouTube. And obviously YouTube's in California. And California, you know what it is, right? Liberal, progressive stuff that censors. It loves to censor you. That's why, what's his name? Elon bought X, known as Twitter, right? Because of the fact that he noticed there was bias and censorship. But at the same time, he wanted a free-form media that was already in place, which Twitter was. It was already in place, and it was, I guess you could say it was buyable, because I don't even know if it was up for sale, but it was definitely buyable, and he bought it, right? And then you realize how much censorship there was in media, and leaning liberal, progressive leaning to the left, which is pretty interesting to find itself, right? So X kind of paved the way to free that aspect of that by freeing social media, right? Well, in that part of social media, there's still a lot of censorship, left, progressive, sort of ways when it comes to that aspect. And so, that's why there's the internet, right? We could see everything, we could find everything. There's other forms of media that you could find within the internet outside of the confines of YouTube. There was another, what do you call it? Another program like YouTube before, right? There's a lot of different social media similar to YouTube, but YouTube is like one of the largest, if not the largest, in terms of content making, content producing, content playing media. Right? There's other ones out there. One of the few that is out there, for example, or that used to be out there, was one called Cocoscope. Cocoscope was really good, and they didn't care about censorship. They did play. They just play anything. That was great. It was a great media. Currently, I think Rumble is another one that's actually decent. Um, I don't think it's comparable to Cocoscope, but Rumble at least is a media that I don't think is censorship. I mean, I haven't actually put anything on it. I was considering putting content on there, but it's not as big as YouTube though. But I wanted to just cover that aspect of the Cybertruck explosion. It was kind of self-contained because of the way the truck is built. It's a metal, stainless steel machine, and if it was like a regular vehicle, who knew how bad this lobby would have been destroyed, in terms of the explosion. But because of this stainless steel truck, it kind of contained the explosion, that with all the materials that were in the back of that truck. Let me see here. That's what it looked like there, right? All this, and it wasn't like sophisticated. It was all this like, you know, what do you call this? Explosive, like gas cans and other materials in here, but it wasn't like a big deal, So I don't know. I just thought it was just interesting that you could tell in a way it wasn't like a terrorist attack, right? That was the kind of the question at first, and then once you start to unravel all the information, gunshot wound to the head, the materials in the back, that wasn't really like a bomb or anything. Um, to me, it boils down to he has some sort of issues, and you start to find out later on, right? He had issues at home. He got kicked out from his home by his wife. I think he's dealing with some sort of mental health issue that just triggers something, and then it led him to this point, right? And it could be PTSD from combat and all these other things, but there's no link to any sort of terrorism activity that, for example, New Orleans terrorist was doing, because the dude in New Orleans, specifically went and drove into a busy area. You could tell it was very sophisticated, right? They had, was it IUDs? And you could tell there's more people involved. But this one particular one was in a shootout, all that stuff in New Orleans before he got killed. So there was more to it, right? There was definitely an attack, even though I first alluded to an illegal immigrant, but it wasn't an illegal immigrant. He was actually a citizen, but had ties to what was that? Ties to I don't know, ISIS. There you go, ISIS. All right, so that's that, right? That's censorship, BS right here. Just because I alluded to it was possibly self-inflicted suicide, and that's what the media guys were talking about here as well. That it was possible it could be a suicide thing, which I was alluding to, because to me it was a mental health crisis that he was probably dealing with. And I know that kind of goes hand in hand with each other, but that's what these guys were alluding to. And that's what I'm honestly thinking in my mind and try to convey that. But yet they say, oh, it's age restricted, blah, blah. And so they could talk about it, but I can't, right? I mean, even though I'm just a little guy here trying to become something, it's just stupid, Um, so that's that, right? Um, Let me see here. There was something else. So we have that. Let me go back to here. So speaking of Cybertrucks, right? I came across this video earlier today. Tesla's Cybertruck nightmare buyers back it out in droves. All right, so this guy here went into a Tesla dealership. Then this is all this particular one had was Cybertrucks. So this is by Rev Nation. And I thought it was fascinating. Short clip.
I'm done spending an obscene amount of money on takeout every week. Done.
I'm getting back on track with Factor Fresh.
So here I am at Tesla or two. And what's going on?
So these are all the ones. So what he was talking about was Cybertrucks. They have a $2,500 rebate now that's been extended to $7,500 rebates. All right. And at the same time, people, in order to reserve a Cybertruck, you got to put a $2,500 down payment, all right, for these Cybertrucks. And if you don't, well, Tesla sent out a warning. If you don't, you're going to lose your deposit. And I think what it is that what he was talking about too is people are starting to have cold feet with Cybertrucks, all right. Just because, and it has nothing to do with the thing in Vegas, right? It just has everything to do with, well, what I'm against. I don't care for EVs and electric cars, but when you look at what Cybertrucks are about, I mean, look at it. It's just look at it. It's a weird looking box. You know what I'm saying? Just a weird. To me, it's more of a status sort of symbol, right? I got 100K, bam, I'm driving around a $100,000 machine. I don't know how this thing is even $100,000, but to me it's more of a status symbol to show, you're flaunting money around, right? And so, flaunting money, 100K, is it better spent on other things? Yeah, I mean, $100,000. Even their one of their top of the line Tesla coupes, right, which is the Model S, which is part of the sexy lineup, right? Model S, Model 3, Model X, Model Y. I think top of the line is Model S, right? And those are well over $100,000 as well. Is it better spent on that? I don't know. I don't give a shit about it. I like Elon, all right, because I used to not be a fan of Elon, but I like him. I grew to like him. It took me a while to kind of grow to like him, but it all started when he started buying X. Then he started to get involved in, politics now. And really trying to show that you can run government like an efficient business if you do it right. And that's what he's trying to prove that you can do. But anyhow, that's Elon there, all right? But I don't care about electric cars. I don't care about Teslas and EVs that the Democrats are trying to push. Liberals, progressives, they're trying to push it because it's clean, right? Oh, it doesn't pollute the air and all this other bullshit. Oh, but then when you look at the problems about EVs in general, like for example, you got to worry about charging it all the time, right? You got to look for the next charging station. You're driving around, and people, I think the number one thing when you're driving around an electric vehicle is you're looking for the next charging station. That's always going to be on your mind. When am I going to go to charge this thing when it's time? All right, that's always going to be number one. It's not like a gas station. You can just go anywhere. There's a sign, or gas stations everywhere. You can just pull up and pump, right? You gotta really go out of your way to look for a charging station, which depends on where you're at. It could be a lot, or it could be very, very little, and you're scrambling like, oh shit, I gotta go, look for something here. And not only that, right? The range, right? How far can you drive before you got to charge it? So you have that. I talked about it. I covered all these details in a video, actually, in one of my earlier videos, where I covered EVs and Teslas and stuff, and I don't give a shit about them. And so, again, I just wanted to kind of hammer down the point that I just don't care for these cars. They suck. And I mean, when you really look at it, like EVs are, if anything, if you want to consider that, get a hybrid at least, right? That way, there's a gasoline source to back you up, because you don't want to get stranded when you can't find a place to charge your vehicle and plug it in. Plus, electricity in California especially is so expensive, like they really go after you with charging with so much electricity, and it's nonsense, because they're kind of they're not really in a monopoly, but they dominate the power industry in California, PG&E that is. And yeah, there's like a couple of other smaller ones, like they broke it up in Southern California, this whole monopoly, right? But at the same time, electricity is expensive, and they're trying to force everybody to go to electricity on everything, literally, right? They're trying to say, oh, they're going to ban gas cars, they're going to ban gas appliances, they're going to ban anything gas in California, lawnmowers, which is all stupid. It's all stupid, all right? And hopefully, when Gavin leaves, and they could try to change some things, it's a bunch of Green New Deal bullshit and nonsense, all right? But anyhow, going back to the Cybertruck, so people are starting to have cold feet about the Cybertrucks, that they're willing to lose their $2,500 deposit and just say, forget about it. I'm just not going to take it, because the resale value on the other end, as in cars anyways in general, right? When you buy it off a car lot, it depreciates a lot right away, that it's not even worth buying a brand new car. And that's like no secret, that's been a thing for quite a few years now, especially during these aftermath of the pandemic years, right? That the car values have drastically gone down from the time you buy from the dealership to being in the street. It's the depreciation is so steep, and it's crazy. And so, being that it's so crazy, I think the dude was talking about, on Rev Nation here, that just right off, it'll be like $70,000 already, already trimmed down to, just from $100,000 truck, and you drive off the lot, and let's just say you decide you want to sell it, it's $70,000, and so you already automatically lose $30,000. But in the long run, you're not going to deal with the problems of the engine, right? Because they're heavy, they're expensive to replace. Not the engine, the batteries. I'm sorry, the batteries. They're heavy, they're expensive to replace, and it'll just be a major problem. It's as worth as much as the car itself to replace the heavy batteries, which, by the way, you have to go to third world countries to mine and to put together materials. So how's that really saving or any sort of when it comes to, I guess, conservation and being green and all this other stuff, when you're using resources from another country to mine and do all this stuff, right? In third world countries, that is. So you're saving a first world country to destroy a third world country. Doesn't really solve nothing when it comes to that, mining to put together batteries. So people are leaving these things and leaving their deposits behind, because it's what this guy said: let the 2,500 go in 6 months you'll be 97,500 ahead, which is true. It's like, yeah, you lose 2,500, but you saved $97,000. Where it's better worth spent on at least a hybrid or something. And so that's my whole take on Cybertrucks. All right, so censorship, Cybertrucks, and then DEI dummies. Right, so. By the way, this was a funny ass roast. All right, I covered this the other day. Funny roast where Whitney Cummings roasted on Democrats and 2024 and just the dummies out there. It's pretty funny. But that's not my point of it. Celebrity roast. Let's see here. Shang Tao, bankrupted Oakland, DEI dummy, right? But that's not the DEI dummy I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about what you call it. Mike Johnson got reelected to be Speaker of the House, right? And there was like so-called controversy, right? Because there was supposedly a little bit of dissension when it comes to possibly he might not be the one that will get the votes needed to become Speaker of the House, right? Because there might be some Republican dissensions and all that. So his competitor was Hakeem Jeffries, right? Which all we're going to hear from Hakeem Jeffries is blocking and crying and all this bullshit about he's going to be more pain than good for Trump, and some people are critical about Mike Johnson in general, and so about some of the things that he has done, stood for. For example, the most recent government budget that was passed, he tried to meet halfway with the Democrats to give him credit, but there was so much pork that was added to the budget that he kind of stood by, that it was, some of the Republicans, especially the Trump team, were like, what the hell, at least. And so he had Elon streamline the budget, removed all the pork bullshit, right? All the bullshit stuff that you add to the budget to sneak in, to get, little projects and stuff done in the government, and maybe a little bit of bonuses and all this other crap they try to squeeze in to the budget. Well, Trump has made it clear that he's done with all that crap, that we're not going to add, what they refer to as pork barrel spending into the budget. It's just straight budget, no other bullshit added to it. So Elon Musk streamlined it from 1,500 page document to like 100 pages basically. So it kind of made him look a little bad because he accepted it almost like in a bipartisan kind of way, which was cool and everything, because he's kind of at least reaching out to Democrats' side because he's a Republican. But at the same time, it looked bad because he was going to settle for it, but at least Trump and team didn't settle for it. Streamlined it, sent it back, and it still passed anyways. So it kind of made him look a little bad, right? And that it kind of questioned him. So Democrat dummies were trying to make it look like there's some sort of issues within the Republican Party, that maybe he might not be the next guy. He might not be up to par and all this other stuff. So his competitor was Hakeem Jeffries, who's from New York and all that. And, he, to me, would have just posed a bigger problem because, one, he's a Democrat. Two, he's going to put a lot of roadblocks into decision making and all the other crap. And he was kind of like the last, the last man standing when it comes to Democrats, because Democrats have been really shot down throughout this whole time in the recent politics, right? For re-election in terms of representation as president, Kamala got shot down. The House got cleared. The House is dominating by Republicans now. The Senate is dominated by Republicans now. So this was kind of like the last bit of something that could have Democrat representation, and then Hakeem Jeffries lost. So if you so maybe people didn't like Mike Johnson in that regard about what he did recently. I think he's done a good job up to this point. Trump has backed him. But the funny thing was, in the end, if you had to say they're both bad, I'd rather have a Mike Johnson than a Hakeem Jeffries, all right? So, yeah, dummies out there that stood out to me. Jasmine Crockett, all right, who's trying to be kind of like, I don't know if you want to say the new generation. Let me see if I can find Jasmine Crockett, because she's a dummy too. All right, let me see. She was trying to put out her voice about voicing. Let me see here. Damn it, I can't find the footage. It was so funny. Maybe it wasn't Jasmine Crockett. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, they're trying to make it sound like there was like chaos and all, but it was pretty funny. The concerns that they were trying to point out was that why can't our territories vote, right? And it had to be explained that, you know, the territories don't have any ties to any elections whatsoever. So why would they have any input on who gets to be Speaker of the House, right? They have zero implications on who becomes President of the United States, and that never came into question, right? But yet it was questioned why can't these territories vote for Speaker of the House? It's like, so these DEI dummies are just grasping at this point, because they were reaching to try to get these territories, like Puerto Rico, Philippines, these are U.S. territories, to be part of the process. And it's like they've never been into the process. It's kind of written in law that they are not a part of it. And if no one ever questioned them about how come they don't vote for the U.S. president, why would they vote for Speaker of the House? So that was my whole point about DEI dummies. But man, I can't find that footage though. I'm gonna have to pull it from another favorite channel of mine, the Black Conservative Perspective, one of my favorites. He's actually very, very good at getting the information and all this stuff here. So let me see if I can find it. Yeah, this right here.
Are you worried that using your home address for business puts your privacy
right,
at
which
risk?
is kind of
At iPostal1,
almost an oxymoron, but there's actually black conservatives,
Is the weakness of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has endorsed Speaker Johnson. There's still 12 strongly. There's still 12 members. There's still these unknowns. There's still 12 members that aren't sure that they're going to vote for the speaker yet. We don't know the answer to that question. Secondly, he lost
but she's a DEI dummy.
The shutdown fight, the debt ceiling fight. Thirdly, Elon Musk is running the White House without even being in the White House. I mean, there's all.
See how she just conjures up all this bullshit, and then like Scott Jennings he's great. Scott Jennings is a man of common sense. He just tells it straight up like it is, right? He doesn't bullshit, where these dummies are always conjuring up some sort of bullshit. And it's like, come on now, really? So watch his response to the claims that she's saying. Oh, there's dissension. Oh, there's all this. There's all that. Blah 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 blah. It's like, get out of here, bitch. That's always been my response. Get out of here, bitch.
These
well, to be clear, the current White House is being run by Joe Biden's unelected staff. But go ahead.
But nevertheless, but Elon Musk is calling the shots, domestically and internationally, going after some of our U.S. allies. Just recently,
who's the current president and who's in charge?
But
Can you answer?
Matter. The point is that Donald Trump is showing that he's weak.
She's a
when
joke.
You have somebody like Elon Musk making the decisions. I worked in 2 White Houses. No one gets ahead of the president or the president-elect, and Elon Musk is. So for me, this shows.
She's grasping. I mean, she's a dummy, because but who? So Joe Biden's president. But is he really doing presidential duties? No, he has his advisors running the country. She's just grasping, and she's still trying to put it out there. Elon this, Elon, get the fuck out of here.
A weakness among Donald Trump, and it's not the strong footing that he would want to go in.
A few moments later.
I have to say, and I'm sure he's rejoicing, this was a muscle flexing of a minority of the party, of the Republican Party. 9 members demonstrating to Speaker Johnson, we can take you down if we want to, according to the new House rules, and we can make your life very difficult. Please pay attention to us, or not please, pay attention to us.
Yeah, flexing, maybe it was a spasm. I don't know. I mean, remember, ultimately, maybe some of my colleagues here today will want to revise and extend their remarks about the relative influence of Donald Trump. He is the head of the Republican Party. He wanted Johnson. Johnson's going to get it on the first ballot after a little bit of conversation on the House floor. That is unequivocally a good thing. We're not going to sit here for 18 ballots or whatever. We're not going to sit here all night. Here at 2:30 in the afternoon, the Republican Party is showing that it can unify itself in relatively short order for the purpose of helping Donald Trump get started on his agenda. For Republican voters all over the country, this will be a piece of really good news this afternoon.
I mean, all right, guys, so we got
Let me go jump over here.
Who were boohoo-whining
There's a black
and
conservative. Good dude.
And still not rise for the preferred candidate of liberty and justice for all. It is the hope and dream of the enslaved.
The gentleman may respond by surname.
Green of Texas, Jeffries.
Names of the representatives from the Americas, Samoa, Guam, Northern Mariana, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and the District of Columbia were not called, representing collectively 4 million Americans.
Guam, Puerto Rico. How come they don't get to vote? So she has to be explained like a dummy that they don't get to vote because they have no connection to U.S. politics. Yeah, they're a territory, but they have no input.
Mr. Speaker, collectively, the largest per capita of veterans in this country.
Does the gentlelady have a parliamentary inquiry?
I asked why they were not called. Have some respect. It's not going to take...
I think you're just a dummy, is what it is.
Gentlelady's recognized.
I asked why they were not called from the parliamentarian, please.
Delegates-elect and the resident commissioner-elect are not qualified to vote. Representatives-elect are the only individuals qualified to vote in the election of a speaker. As provided in Section 36 of the House Rules and Manual, the speaker is elected by a majority of the members-elect voting by surname.
This body and this nation has a territories and a colonies problem. What was supposed to be temporary has now effectively become permanent.
Get out of here,
We must do something about this problem so that these
That's why she's getting
4
booed and heckled. It's stupid. It's just it's the dumbest thing. No one cares. No one cares.
Online in minutes.
It's just grasping, all right? That's what it is. No one cares. Yeah, get out of here, bitch. Sit down. Sit down, bitch. Yeah. No one cares.
The reading clerk will now call the names of the representatives.
The dumbest thing I ever heard. Get out of here, bitch. No one cares.
Okay, and I know a lot of people are probably disappointed with Mike Johnson being speaker again. They probably don't like the fact that Trump...
It's just all right. Let me just jump on over to the Cartier family here because they're pretty cool too.
This shows me is the weakness of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has endorsed Speaker Johnson. There's still strongly. There's still 12 members there's still these unknowns. There's still 12 members that aren't sure that they're going to vote for the speaker yet. We don't know the answer to that question. Secondly, he lost the shutdown fight, the debt ceiling fight. Thirdly, Elon Musk is running the White House without even being in the White House. I mean, there's all these unanswered.
To be clear, the current White House is being run by Joe Biden's unelected staff.
Yeah, unelected staff.
But Elon Musk is calling the shots, domestically and internationally, going after some of our U.S. allies. Just recently,
who's the current president and who's in charge? Can you answer?
Is that Donald Trump is showing that he's weak. When you have somebody like Elon Musk making the decisions, I worked in 2 White Houses. No one gets ahead of the president or the president-elect, and Elon Musk is. So for me, this shows.
See, grasping, like, I don't know, these people are just stupid.
A weakness among Donald Trump, and it's not it's
DEI
not the strong
dummies.
footing that he would want to go in.
A few moments later.
Ultimately, maybe some of my in the afternoon.
Today,
Any update on the suspects in those incidents?
Let's go, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Enjoy now.
Literally right now can't answer his own questions. So he also worked in the White House.
The gentleman may respond by surname.
Yeah, heckled.
It's like a classroom. It's just childish. The girl from the teacher?
I thought she was Jasmine Crockett, but that's not her. I don't think it's her. But she's a dummy too, though.
Democrats taking straight L's.
They're a bunch of dummies and
Mr.
just
Speaker,
desperate.
collectively the largest per capita of veterans in this country.
Does the gentlelady have a parliamentary
I asked why they were not called. Have some respect. It's not going to take.
Therapy has always been such a scary idea to me because I simply did not know where to get started. I didn't know.
Gentlelady's recognized.
I asked why they were not called. From the parliamentarian, please.
Delegates-elect and the resident commissioner-elect are not qualified to vote. Representatives-elect are the only individuals qualified to vote in the election of a speaker. As provided in Section 36 of the House Rules and Manual, the speaker is elected by a majority of the members-elect voting by surname.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This body and this nation has a territories and a colonies problem. What was supposed to be temporary has now effectively become permanent. We must do something about this problem so that these 4 million...
Problem is...
no longer recognized.
Yeah, the problem is that no one cares, all right? And they're just desperate because they want to, include people that technically don't really have nothing to do with U.S. politics. And they're just desperate because that's how progressives and Democrats are. They've lost so much that they're just trying to just reach for anything at this point.
But I have a voice!
Shut up, bitch. Yeah. Shut up.
This is crazy.
No one cares. Shut up.
It's all right, baby.
The reading clerk will now call the names of the representatives-elect.
All right, whatever, right? So, here's Jasmine Crockett. Here we go. Let's see what she has to say here. Let me jump it over here.
Every time Kevin McCarthy was trying to get an election, everybody voted for Hakeem Jeffries on the Democratic side. Obviously, that's going to happen as well tomorrow. But at what point do Democrats feel any responsibility or compulsion to get involved and say, all right, at some point, the work of the people has to get done, and you all aren't doing it?
In my opinion, that point will not be reached. Listen, they have gone around, they have talked about how there is a mandate and that this country issued a mandate for the Republicans to run something. Well, the country about to find out. We are in the find out phase.
Oh, yeah,
so
we are.
Go ahead and run whatever y'all gonna run. But listen, if it's all about y'all, if you don't believe in bipartisanship and you have a Trump trifecta, then y'all work this out amongst yourselves. We're going to sit on the sidelines and eat our popcorn.
And as you're eating that popcorn, tomorrow could be a long day. Maybe they'll get it.
We will fix the problems that the Democrats have caused. Yeah.
Worked
so
out
yeah,
soon.
go ahead
Maybe
and sit and eat your popcorn.
What does that look like to you? What does success look like to you? Because there is the business of governing that has to get done. They got to get a speaker so that they can get various things done, including January 6th, the certification of the election of the president, the vice president. What are you looking to see happen tomorrow? What are you most interested in?
Honestly, I'm not that concerned about January 6th. I know you just threw that in there, but my candidate didn't win. So, if it gets delayed, I'm okay with that because, MAGA believes that Trump is this big, mean guy and he's the strong man. But here it is. He has threatened Chip Roy not once, not twice, but he's threatened him a number of times. And Chip Roy always stands up to him. Yeah. And now it's Trump that's calling Chip Roy begging for a vote.
Well, yeah, these people don't want what's best for the country, guys. We can see that.
So she don't want to work with the other side of the
She's saying
house.
they don't want to work with her. That's what she's saying because they didn't do the bipartisan.
Y'all don't believe in it.
Yeah, well,
y'all obviously don't believe it.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, that's why they're dummies, DEI dummies. So that's just what I wanted to cover today. So a little bit of everything because of censorship, Cybertrucks, and DEI dummies. All right, so comment down below. Let me know what you think. Did I cover everything right? I mean, I'm just saying, it's common sense, right? And I'm not for electric vehicles. Censorship sucks, and DEIs are a bunch of clowns. All right, so comment down below, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Thanks. I'll see you next one.